Well, the World Baseball Classic begins this week with the U.S. looking to avenge the Japanese sneak attack from 23. Did Captain America give his troops a pep talk or a bedtime story? Will Iran play in the World Cup in America, or will Operation Epic Fury have them running for cover? We'll take a pee test on the enhanced games where they're all juiced. I guess that's the point. And what was that white stuff on Mike Lamb's wiener? It's angry old guys talking sports and stuff. It's this week's version of Obstructed View. So it was called Obstructed View for the first 7 weeks when we started doing this sock puppet show. But apparently there's some guys in Dallas that are sports writers who also have the same name. So I went to AI and I said, give me a new name and a new graphic. So now Obstructed View from forevermore will be known as After Further Review. And I love this graphic. AI is fantastic. I mean, that took like 15 seconds. Sports news debate, that's exactly who we are. Big microphone, put some balls in there because it's that kind of show. Hi, everybody.
Why would that other show, why would they object?
Yes.
How many zillions of people did you insult in the open? Sneak attack by the Japanese? Good Lord.
I didn't write it. I have guys who write it. It's not me.
That is you. That's got your signature on it.
Oh, come on. You know I love the low-hanging.
That's one of our best allies. We have
right
very
there.
few. And there goes
That's
Japan.
right. We're running out of them as well.
We're running
last
out of
week,
countries that
remember,
like us.
The guy there in the 2 box, of course, last week, if you were with us, he went all kinds of Bull Connor on the poor, plucky U.S. women's hockey team. And I know he's back for an apology tour. Peter, did you want to jump in? Professor
Name me
Pete
one
Weiser.
person on that team. Name me a person.
No, they're gone. There it is.
Right.
Peter, they took themselves off the stage, so nobody wants to talk about them. There were no articles. Everything was about the men's team and getting back to business. So, hey, they did it to themselves. The guy in the other box, the guy pushing all the buttons for us, our technical director and our third nipple. He's also the Italian scallion. Hey, everybody, it's Tommy Catlin down in the desert somewhere.
Was that Italian scallion?
Scallion, yes, scallion.
I was afraid I heard that.
All right, before we go to the disclaimer, this is a chance for all of us to hold hands. Peter, will you lead us in our land acknowledgement?
Land acknowledgement?
Yeah.
I mean, we're on
Yes,
stolen
yes,
land.
we're all no, it's well earned, and we own it. So that's our land acknowledgement. I own this land, and my ancestors, they earned it for me. That's all. I'm not apologizing to anybody. Nobody's ever asked me for it back. All right, let's do the disclaimer, which we do every week. And my wife makes me do this because she still has a career, and she said, please don't affect it. So this is the disclaimer every week. The views expressed by the host on this podcast are mine alone, don't reflect the views or beliefs of my wonderful wife and children, who are decent and honorable people who also are forced to suffer my existence. Signed, Waddy's wife. Every week, Tommy brings up someone else to represent my wife. And this week it is Maureen McCormick, better known as Marsha Brady. Marsha. Nice, Tommy.
Marsha.
Well done. I like it. Yeah, good stuff. All right, Peter, let's jump into it. So the big news this week is the World Baseball Classic, of course. I'm still getting familiar with this. I watched it a couple of years ago, but I didn't really pay attention to the format. Here's how it goes. So it's similar to the World Cup in soccer. So it's pool play. It began this week. There are 20 teams. They've all played already. There are 4 pools consisting of 5 teams in each, and the top 2 in each pool advance to the quarterfinals. So, Pete, I'm still coming to terms with this. Is the World Baseball Classic, is it a big deal?
I recall they had games at Angel Stadium, right? 2006, 2009. So one of the first or second iterations. And I didn't even cancel class for it. So that, it really wasn't registering. I had it on in the class. It just wasn't registering for me. You had people, Jim, Tommy, like George Steinbrenner saying, this is going to interrupt spring training. It had no buy-in. Some of the players, yes. Because the players, we've come to learn, Jim, from Ryder Cup, right? From Olympics, which now has pros. This resonates with these guys. And I love, it's very easy to get cynical about professional athletes giving all the money and some of the other things some of them do, small percentage. But boy, you arouse their nationalist patriotism, right? And so that's how it built, right? And then 2013, which was one of the worst U.S. performances, my guy, David Wright, the great ex-Met, was the Captain America is where he got the name. And oddly enough, they did terribly. I think they got knocked out. They were 4-4, got knocked out in the quarterfinals. Or he had a grand slam, but that's what ignited. And they saw what the other countries, Japan's won 3, the DR's won, and it blew. And now they get complete buy-in, I think, from every constituent. It has become a big deal. Look at this year. And Paul Skeens is really, I know Judge is the captain, but Skeens is the guy. He's been the one on the phone, like Trout was 4 years ago, but Skeens has been the pitching staff, which is why the Americans are the favorite. Skeens has been on the phone getting guys, so it's become a big deal. It has. I haven't seen the ratings. It's only been a few games. They're on at odd times because the games have been over in Japan so far. But tonight's prime time, America against Brazil, I think it's going to do well.
How much of this nationalism, Pete, is a bounce off the Olympics and in particular the U.S. men's hockey team? Because a lot of the guys who said, before I'd make excuses, I didn't want to play, I just signed a new deal, I don't want to get hurt, spring training's long, going into a long year. But now they're saying, well, after watching those guys and waving the flag and going to going to Miami to the clubs and then going to the Oval Office and then the State of the Union, I think it's sparked something in people, their nationalism. They want to be proud again to wear the USA on the jersey. They want to wave the flag. They want to hear the USA chant. I think some of these guys have stepped out of themselves and said, you know what, I do want to represent my country. And I thought that was the coolest part of this.
And here's what they're not saying. This offseason, what did people talk about? The 3 big Japanese signings. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's face it, the best player in baseball. I mean, you could say it's Aaron Judge, it could be, but if not, it's Shohei Ohtani, right? Judge doesn't pitch. So I think that's part of it. They have all, I think you're exactly right. They have all bought in. This is our game. It's like soccer is to whatever Europeans, South America. This is our game. We've only won one of them. Japan's won 3. DR's won 1.
That's right.
This one is coming at a great time, and there's some other teams, other countries. Yeah,
Peter, you're right. The Americans have only won the tournament a single time. That was back in 2017. Japan, the defending champions, 3-time winners, and they beat the Americans in the final the last time they did this, which was back in 23. And it was a great showdown at the end. Shohei Ohtani pitching for Japan to the Americans' Mike Trout to win it in the 9th.
Ohtani's ready. Trout's ready. 3-2. He struck him out. Ohtani strikes out Trout, and Japan's back on top of the baseball world.
So I love the fact that, look at how excited the Japanese are. So I'm watching this, Peter, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this is good for this tournament, because if the Americans won every time, it would take some of the excitement out of it, some of the drama out of it. The backstory to this showdown, Ohtani and Trout at the time were teammates on the Angels. So they knew each other. So they flew home together and walked into the dressing room together. But it was a great showdown. It was exciting. And I'm one of those Americans that can step out of the flag and enjoy just the moment of it. And to watch the joy on the faces of the Japanese, that was a great moment. I loved it.
Jim, it's like it's Alan Amici scoring in overtime, right? With the Colts.
Championship game for the Colts and the Giants. Yeah.
People don't realize college football was way bigger than the NFL until then. You need those moments. They're indelible. By the way, perfect pitch by Ohtani. I do not Trout did his, but nobody could have hit that pitch.
So listen, and here's what I say about it. Just like Olympic basketball, we dominated that for a long time and people didn't pay attention. It was a foregone conclusion. We would win the gold medal. Parity is good for something that's growing. It furthers the sport. It brings more fans into it, makes it international, makes it more exciting. If we won the Ryder Cup every year, we wouldn't even be talking about it, right? So we had seen this before, and I was thinking, where did I see this same kind of scene before? When I was a little kid, 1972, the United States against the Soviets for the gold medal in basketball. Remember this at the Olympics? That's Doug Collins right there, steals the ball. He goes in, gets fouled, ends up making a couple of free throws. Hank Iba, the coach. The Americans think they win it. Okay, so the Americans went up 51-50. Then at the very end, 3 chances for the Russians. They eventually get it on the third one. The Americans protest. Hank Iba was 68, but he'd been the coach in 64 and 68. The Americans were so upset that they actually turned down their silver medals. It's been more than 55 years. They still won't accept the silver medals. You can Google it, go back. There's a great documentary on 3 Seconds to Gold. It was a great one. But when that happened, I'm a little kid. I'm on the floor. I'm in tears. We lost. Not only did we lose, we lost to the hated Soviets, the Russians. Oh, my God, the commies beat us at our game. And my father, who had been a basketball player growing up and a Navy SEAL, sitting there quietly on the couch, he waited for my tantrum to end, and he said, you don't know this, but this is good for basketball. And I said, why would this be good for basketball? I'm a little kid. And he says, because now the whole world is going to want to play basketball because they too can win a gold medal. And all you got to do is look at the NBA now and look at the Olympics and look at all the international tournaments in basketball. And you can trace it all the way back because this is where it all began, that 72 basketball. So maybe the WBC follows the same script.
It's exposed people to how popular the game is in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. You see these fans, and certainly in Japan and South Korea. It's great. It's a big, big deal. That's for one. And so, yeah, and competition is great. It's great for ratings, but it's great for interest. Like I said, it was an afterthought for me, and then you need certain things to happen. Wright hits his grand slam. There's a terrible one for the Americans in 2013, but Wright hits his grand slam that at least got them into the final round. The Trout Ohtani showdown this year has so many great plots. I mean, Australia's 2-0 as we record this. How good is that? They'll probably be as far as they can go. But yeah, the game is growing. There's more teams. I'm going to guess more teams than, when it started in 2006. It's 5 pools. So it's all good for baseball.
We knew Latin America played baseball. That's the Dodgers have been fighting South America and Central America for 50 years, maybe longer. They were the first ones to go down there and bring the Dominican players up to the major leagues. But I'm seeing teams like Italy and Great Britain and now Australia. You mentioned. I mean, this is cool because now it truly can become the world's game. I didn't know it was a kiss and tell show, Pete. Who was that?
Did you just get a glimpse at Zuby?
Did that dog just try to slip you tongue? And did you accept it? It looked like it.
It's a 1-year-old golden. Do you think she takes up much of my life? Hold on. I'll be right back.
All of it? What? All of it? All right. We'll give you a chance.
And I want to know, Waddy, did you learn a lesson about crying when you lose?
Yeah, I continue to do that even to today. That's how I get most things, kicking and screaming. All right, I got a story for you. It made me think of it when I mentioned Doug Collins, who was the star of that 72 Olympic team. Doug Collins, who came out of Illinois State. Illinois State just played in the small college championship football game, losing to Montana State in Nashville. I was there, but let's stay with Doug Collins. So in 2000, NBC Olympics hires me to do beach volleyball in Australia, in Sydney, on Bondi Beach. And I go to the Hotel Intercontinental. My room's on like the 23rd floor. I go all the way up. On one side, I have a neighbor, Ahmad Rashad. On the other side, I have Doug Collins. And I have the corner room. My corner room looks out on the Sydney Harbor Bridge and the Opera House. I have the unbelievable room. Meanwhile, Collins is looking at a dumpster out his window, and Rashad's looking at a bank building next door. So they're looking at me like, why do you get the big room? My room was giant. I had a sleeper sofa pull out. I had a big window to sit in. There was a wet bar. I don't know. Something happened. I got the good room. So the next day, Collins goes and picks his wife and daughters up at the airport. I think his daughters went to Notre Dame. Tall, beautiful young girls, college students. And he gets to the hotel, and he's at his door, And he opens the door and his wife looks at their room and says, all four of us are going to live in this room for a month. And with that, I whip my door open from my suite and I look at Doug and I said, hey, let me be a team player. Have your daughters bunk with me for the month. And Collins just looked at me. Yeah. And Collins looked at me and he says, you know what? I don't know who you are, but I'm going to find out. And we're never going to be friends. And to this day, Collins never talked to me again. But I'll tell you this, Pete.
True story.
It was worth it. True story. It was worth it. It was great. It was great.
Tommy, where are the pictures of the Collins girls?
The stories on this show do not need to be true. Let me remind you that.
Next week, at least pictures of Collins girls.
Is
Right
there no
next
fact
to
checking going on in real time?
right next to young Ms. Lane Beer, who I'm still sort of pondering.
We're starting a...
You leave her alone. She was a good nanny for us. You leave her alone. All right, let's move on.
What qualifies as a good nanny?
Instead,
NDA's a small
took
fraternity.
care of my
You think
kids.
Collins didn't talk to Lambier?
Oh, completely lost control. I feel like Goose in the back seat. All right.
Here you're trying to be magnanimous, and you get called out for being a cad.
I was just trying to help out. All right, let's rip Aaron Judge for a
It
while.
would have been
Beautiful human.
selfish of you to not make the offer.
That's what I thought, right? You know.
What
so,
can
all right,
go
so
wrong?
Aaron,
You have all expenses paid, the greatest room in the hotel. You're on the air, and the naive daughters, Collins daughters, would come in and live with you. What could go wrong?
what could go wrong? All right, so the captain of the American baseball team is Aaron Judge. Everybody gets called Captain America. Aaron Judge is an unbelievable talent, of course. He's a physical specimen. He's great at everything. He's a 5-tool player, but isn't of the 6-tool, which is given pep talks. So unfortunately, and who knows how much lead time they gave the poor guy, but they had him come in and address the greatest players in America with all the media and all the cameras and said, hey, let's have a Rockney speech. And this is what it sounded like.
Sacrifice for your family at home. You're sacrificing for your country. And you're sacrificing for the brothers in the trenches with you every single day. That's one thing I want us to do, fellas. You know, we're down, we're beat up a little bit, man. You know, lead it to each other, man. We're going to lay it all on the line. If we do that, bring it go home, man.
All right, so he's getting crushed for that. People are like, that was awful. All right, first off, every guy in that room is a multi-millionaire, multi-all-star. Do they really need a pep talk before the first practice in the middle of spring training? Look, it's not his forte. I don't think it was as bad. People beat up on him. The only problem I had with it was I hate when teammates call each other brothers. I have 3 brothers, Pete. My teammates are not my brothers. My brothers are my brothers. Blood, that's family. You can be my teammates. That's a big thing. I hate this brothers and family. Stop it. None of that stuff works in sports. Your teammates, you're all there because you're getting a paycheck. But was that speech as bad as people? I think they just wanted to beat up on a Yankee.
And of course, the New York media beat up on him for it, so that accelerates it. You know, baseball's, I mean, in our leagues, some teams have captains, some teams don't. I mentioned David Wright a few minutes ago. Mets haven't had a captain since. It's not. There's other sports where being a player captain is more important. It's just not as big a deal in baseball. I think that's unfair. We've all watched Judge over the last 10 since he emerged. He's a humble guy. He speaks with his actions. He's a class guy. I had no problem with that speech. For him to go rah-rah would have looked disingenuous.
He's an excellent captain.
Go ahead.
He's an excellent captain because he leads by example. The speech was terrible, and so what?
You're a Mets fan.
True.
You're a Mets fan. If he had read from the Bible, you would have hated it. You know,
I said he's an excellent captain.
He's not going to win your allegiance. Yeah, you hated him before he even started talking.
No, I think he's a great guy and a great captain. Captain America!
Captain America. All right, let's move on.
I'm just saying the Mets haven't had a team captain since David Wright.
Or anyone who deserves to be.
Not as big a deal.
Right.
How did we get on the Mets? How'd you drag it into the Mets?
All roads lead to the
Shame-
Mets
no,
and the Jets.
No.
Wasn't that big a
Lord.
reach? The whole captain thing.
All right, let's move on to the other big tournament that's coming to North America this summer. The World Cup is coming to America, and most Americans are like, is it really? Yeah, and it's going to be hosted by all of North America, right? So the United States, snow Mexico, right? Isn't Canada getting some games? And Mexico's also hosting it, right? So all three countries are going to be hosting it. But on a serious note, listen, Iran has qualified for the World Cup. Iran is going to be playing in the United States in pool play. They have 2 games in Los Angeles in mid-June, and then at the end of the month, they have their 3rd game up in Seattle. Now, the Iranian players, they're athletes. They're not soldiers. Maybe they were. Maybe they're related to soldiers. But what do you think, Peter? Should Iran play? How should these players feel when the States in play? It's the World Cup. I'm pretty sure they're coming.
I think they are. Look, 2022 was controversial, right? Because Qatar hosted it. But Qatar didn't precipitate a war. We, as one of the hosts, I think this is generic and non.
Go for it, righty.
We precipitated. We're the host, and we precipitated against Iran. Of course they should come. It's their call, right? And there's nothing disqualifying them, right? This is not where FIFA wants them to come. They should come.
Yes, and it's been underscored.
The Iranian. You've seen the celebration. You've seen the celebrations here and elsewhere. For all we know, that's those players. And I guess there's already been there was a recent game, some Iranian team, they didn't sing their national anthem. I think they should come.
Agreed.
Okay, I think they're coming. And you know what's great is Trump already talked to the FIFA president and said, hey, don't worry what's going on right now. This is all going to be over by mid-June. So it wouldn't be a factor anymore. So hopefully that's true. Now, look, if you take Trump out of it and you just say these are athletes who've earned their way into the biggest tournament on the planet, any sport, they want to come. I think they're going to come. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. And here's the other part of it, Pete. When they walk on the pitch in Los Angeles the first time, I think the American crowd is going to give them a standing ovation because that's who we are as people.
100%. And that's the ones who will go to the game, of course. Not the ones who resent what happened. It's the ones who we've seen dancing in the streets. That's the ones and have pride in their. This is what soccer is around the world, right? And have pride in their team.
That's right.
So yes, I agree. Now there is a problem in that I believe since 2025, our Iranian nationals are not allowed into this country. So they're going to need their the ones who are here already and have citizenship, whatever. They're going to need them. Otherwise, they won't have fan support.
Yeah, but listen, they can get in. The State Department can issue them special visas. It's all been arranged by World Cup. Or you could take the VIP entrance and just go through the turnstile down in San Diego because you come on across. There's nobody there to bother you, right? Give you a hand towel. Bottle of cold water. Come on in.
Lotion.
All right. So listen.
Don't
go
go
there.
there.
I might get in line.
By the way.
No, go there. All right.
So if they don't come, you know who replaces them? Qatar.
That means
Because they're clean. They're clean.
They're coming. Yeah, they're coming. They're coming. Now listen, Americans are famous. Americans are famous for forgiveness. And there's 3 stages of forgiveness in American history. And the first one is bitterness, right? So if you were part of it, say you were in a war against the Japanese in World War II, you're bitter. I got it. Then your children are indifferent because it didn't affect them directly, unless you lose someone in your family. So now it goes from bitterness to indifference, and then their children, the grandchildren, then just become ignorant to it all. And that's where I came in. And you know what? I was driving a Datsun 240Z in high school. So you could see it took 3 generations. So that's the way this is going to go with Iran. But remember, this all started, for those of us old enough to remember, Pete, 1979. But now I'm old enough. I processed all of this. For the most part, 90% of the people in Iran they want things to change. It's just that the top, right, the theocracy, the Republican Guard, those are the ones that Americans have the feud with. But the rest of the Iranians, to me, they're just like any other foreigner from another country coming to the United States. I welcome them. Come on in. Come to the World Cup. Let's have a beer and watch the game.
This can be an accelerant to where I think most people want this all to play out.
Yeah, so I talked about forgiveness, and here's some great examples of forgiveness through history. Jesus forgave the Roman soldiers who put him up on the cross. Nelson Mandela forgave his jailers. Son of Sam is back, Pete. You got to get a muzzle on that dog. He tried to derail the show last week. How about this? Rocky Balboa forgave Mick. Remember, he took his stuff out of the locker and hung it on Skid Row in a bag. Remember, and Rocky still hired Mick to train him for
Rocky
the first
7.
Creed 1. Yeah. Roger Goodell, he forgave Michael Vick, right? Evander Holyfield forgave a peckish Mike Tyson. Taylor Swift forgave 9 straight boyfriends by blaming them publicly in song. And JFK once said, forgive your enemies, but all right, maybe that wasn't a good example. We'll let that one slide. MLK said, forgiveness is not an occasional act. It's a permanent attitude. So American fans will greet the Iranian soccer team and any Iranians in the crowd. You know, the American fans will go over to them, put their arm around them, trade flags, and say, we're going to root for you guys against whoever you, because they understand. They understand, look, we are based on a fight for liberty. You know, we were oppressed people in Great Britain, England back in the day. We come from the same background, so we can appreciate who they are. And if this goes the way that the administration wants it to go, and Iran is a free country to whatever degree that means, then we can relate with the
Everyone will be
Iranian people
rooting
when they
for
come to the World
them. Many people
That's right.
will be rooting for them.
Cup. Okay, all right, let's go
My
from something
question
serious
is-
to something ridiculous. Go ahead.
My question is, do they have a shot to get out of the knockout round? Is this something I should be playing?
Well,
Tell
to be
me half the
inspired-
people wouldn't look at it from that angle.
It's a good point. Well, they will. The ones that are opportunistic. All right, coming this May, another big sporting event. The biggest cheaters in the sport are going to take their shrunken testicles to center stage in a thing called the Enhanced Games. The Enhanced Games are an experiment. It's a test. They want to test the human limits in sports and science. So right now there are 40 competitors, including Hunter Armstrong, who's a much decorated Olympian. This guy's won a lot of medals, but he says he's out of money. He has no more sponsors. Why would he go to the Enhanced Games? Well, if you win a race, you win a gold medal at the Enhanced Games, they give you $250,000. He says he's not going to juice. He's going to go clean. He's going to continue to take P-tests with the U.S. Olympic Committee to stay clean for the World Aquatics so that he can come back to the Olympic Games. He says he's only doing it for the money. So there's events in sprinting, weightlifting, and swimming. 40 competitors have already signed up. They're currently training in Abu Dhabi. They're using testosterone, growth hormone, and peptides to prepare for this. The event is being sponsored by several foreign billionaires, I guess in the same spirit as Roman emperors held the gladiator games. Pete, what do you think about the Enhanced Games?
There's beyond, you mentioned the European billionaire, Peter Thiel is a big backer of this.
He's the guy who funded Uber, got PayPal and Uber and all that, right?
Tends to pick right. Donald Trump Jr.'s got a big organization that I think wants to go public and probably likes this because it gets some attention. They're backing this. It's a fun. You would think after all that's happened with PEDs and some people, Junior Seaus and Ken Kamenides who have passed, who have died because of this. But I recall I was a speaker at a TEDx thing we had at Chapman a dozen years ago, and we all gave our little speeches, and a guy got up who was a big science professor, and he made the case that PEDs should be. There is a big group that thinks with proper monitoring and it's not working anymore. Jerks and Profar got suspended. Tommy, you know this. You're Padres guy, right?
Again.
Second time. Again. That's not working. If you monitor them better, so you, I suppose, can ward off the Kamenides and the other ones in the future. I mean, I think it's a slippery slope. But is this going to be, Tommy, is this going to be the East German women swimmers from 76? Are we going to see world records shattered by 5 seconds, 10 seconds, right?
Yes, but it's not going to count because they're juice, so it's okay. What they're saying is, look, we're not going to play that game anymore. Just let them do it, and let's see what human beings can do. Now, I don't have a big problem with what they want to do. I do have a big problem with people going into the enhanced games and then trying to come back to the Olympics, but I'm not naive. People juice at the Olympic Games and don't get caught. In fact, in 1984, I was on stage at the Long Beach Terrace Theater for the finals of fencing. The Italians won. They won the gold medal. We're all smoking cigarettes backstage. I don't smoke cigarettes, but they're making me because I was the one who had to take them. I had to take them to doping afterwards. They were all clean. It wasn't a big deal, but we went down. They all had to pee in a cup before they could go celebrate the gold medal, and they were all clean, and they won their gold medal. So this has been going on forever. You mentioned the East Germans. So here's the way I look at this. The enhanced games begin on May 24th. Naturally, they're being held in the enhanced people's capital of the world, Las Vegas, baby. Las Vegas. I mean, that was easy. You knew that was coming. And if they take my advice, they on the medals, they should have the likeness of Elvis because he was juicing the whole time. That's perfect. And then you could have guys come in to hand out medals who know what they're talking about. Ben Johnson, Lance Armstrong, Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, who's not here to talk about the past. How about Doc Ellis, who pitched a perfect game on LSD? He could be there. And you mentioned the East German women's swim team. And Tommy, don't leave me hanging. You know who else is going to be there? Because if you want something that's enhanced, you know who you go to, Peter? You go to Dick Hammer. You got to bring Dick Hammer to the X Games. Nobody's more enhanced than Dick Hammer, the Marlboro man.
He's bad dude.
Look, you're telling me, look at that guy's enhanced. He's enhanced by tobacco, by whiskey, by a bad attitude. Dick Hammer, one tough SOB.
He was well ahead of his time. But we just lost Italians who smoke.
That's redundant.
Woody, don't mess with the Italians.
I love the Italians.
You need insurance.
Hey, by the way, when you guys left me hanging last week when I said, what was that sauce on Seinfeld? Because we were talking about something that people want to like, but they just don't like. And I said, it reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where George wanted to like pesto. And he goes, I want to like pesto. Everybody's eating pesto. I just don't like pesto. It was a throwaway joke. It was great. I've remembered it for years. So I appreciate you guys doing nothing for me last week on that. You called it verde sauce. Not only no help. It was like I'm drowning and you tossed me an anchor. I appreciate that, Pete. All right.
Don't ask me questions. I'm not good at words.
You needed a green sauce. I threw one out there.
Before Peter was in the 2 box, Mike Lamb, legendary lineman at USC and longtime ESPN Sports Talk radio guy, was in there for 6-7 weeks. And so he had told us about a picture he had of Humphrey Bogart eating a hot dog at a spring training game. And of course, it said a hot dog at the ballpark is better than a steak at the Ritz. And we loved it so much. We said, God, we're going to print that thing out. I said, Mike, send it to me. So Mike sent me the picture, but he was also at spring training when he sent it to me and sent a picture of himself doing the same thing at spring training. When I brought this up last week, I thought it was great. But of course, both of you eyes immediately went to Mike's wiener and said, what is the white stuff on the hot dog? So, of course, I went to Deep Throat and asked him, hey, what is the white stuff on your wiener? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, oh, in the picture. And he said, oh, it's, as Tommy knew, it's mayonnaise.
Oh.
And I said, you put mayonnaise on your hot dog? And he said, and this is what Mike claims, he said they ran out of mustard at the ballpark. I got to call BS. No baseball stadium, even at spring training, runs out of mustard. I think Mike likes mayo, and he just doesn't want to admit it publicly. So we're calling him out.
Jim,
so it's mayo.
Tommy, one of the greatest lines in the Dirty Harry movies, in the very first one, Clint Eastwood, you know what really pisses me off? Nobody puts ketchup on a hot dog. It's not
That's
ketchup.
right.
It's the same thing.
No, listen,
Foul.
when you turn 7, you're no longer allowed to put ketchup on a hot dog when you're 7. You put mustard, you put Gulden's mustard, and you put relish and onions on a hot dog. That's the only way a hot dog should come.
Well,
Weiner.
I'm disgusted and a little bit relieved.
I hear you. I'm following. I'm tracking. I got that. Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to Off the Grid. We lost a legendary coach last week, Lou Holtz. I believe he was 89, Pete, if I'm not mistaken. One of the greatest coaches in college football history. Last head coach to lead Notre Dame to a national championship back in 1988. He had 100 wins with the Irish. He's in the Hall of Fame. His career record, 249 and 132. So he won 65% of his games coaching at William & Mary, North Carolina State, Arkansas, Minnesota, Notre Dame, and then he finished up with 6 seasons at South Carolina. Go Cox. He won at every place he coached except for Tommy's New York Jets, where it's impossible to win. And my question to you, Pete, was he a great coach, or was he a great showman? Is he a legend, or is it just a guy we grew up watching, on ESPN doing games and being kind of a character? How good a coach was he?
He was a great coach. It's the last championship Notre Dame won. He restored Notre Dame out of the Jerry Faust era. Are you kidding me? Now, of course, his critics will say, what, 3 programs at Minnesota, Notre Dame. I think it was Notre Dame. One other that he left, Arkansas, went on probation the next year. Does that put him in a small group? It puts him in a large group.
Yeah. It's everybody.
By the way,
larger than life. He's last era of the larger than life, the Woody Hayeses, right? And even finishing off with Saban. And real quick, the one story, he's a great storyteller, but the one story, the one that always stuck out with me is that great documentary on the Catholics versus convicts, right? The game that he won against Miami. If he doesn't win that game, they don't win the national championship. Controversial call with Cleveland Gary, but there's this story about Pat Terrell. You covered Pat Terrell, right?
Yeah, at the Rams. Yeah, Pat Terrell. Yeah, quarterback.
Yes, he was a wide receiver who couldn't catch. So Holtz made him a defensive back and made him a career, right? And he said in front of everybody when he was a wide receiver, I don't care if Pat Terrell is 30 yards open and you could walk to him and hand him the ball, you take the sack.
He was great. He was fun. I've heard him. Go ahead, Tom. Jump in.
With the Jets, he was 3-10. This is coming from a Jets fan, and this is how bad management has been for the Jets. He was 3-10 in a 14-game season and left before the season ended.
Yeah, because he's smart. Yeah.
Right.
He said, I'm wasting my time here. I'm getting out of New Jersey. I have a Lou Holtz connection as well. So in November of 1988, I was a senior at USC. USC had Rodney Peete as the quarterback. Larry Smith was the coach. USC was undefeated. I think they were 10-0, and they just beaten UCLA. They were ranked number 2 in the country. And Notre Dame was also undefeated, ranked number 1 in the country. Tony Rice was the quarterback, the head coach, Lou Holtz, at the Coliseum. I had student tickets. I was offered tons of money, Pete. $500 a ticket, up to $1,000 a ticket. I kept them because I said I'm going to be a sportscaster one day, and I got to say I was at this game. Unfortunately, about 45 seconds after the game started, Tony Rice fakes the dive, and on the option, goes 65 yards, untouched, and scores the opening touchdown. And then SC turned it over 4 times in the game, and then deep in the second quarter, Pete throws a terrible ball out into the flat, and he's intercepted. Sam Smagala, who goes 65 yards all the way to the house. The route was on at that point. SC never recovered. 27-10. SC did go on to the Rose Bowl, where they lost again to Michigan, and Notre Dame went to the Fiesta Bowl, and I forgot this. They beat West Virginia to wrap up the national championship. in the Fiesta Bowl. So the payoff to all of this is I'm a senior at SC. They ruined the game. I should have sold it. Could have put $2,000 in my pocket. So I was driving a 280ZX to school in those days. Remember with the glass T-tops? And I would park on Exposition because I was too cheap to buy a student parking pass to USC. I was one of these guys on student aid. I was borrowing money. My brother Rick paid for me to go to school. I was not a typical SC guy. I went there just for my last 2 years. I parked on Exposition, which is the big street between SC, the campus, and then
And the prison.
big, Natural History Museum, and the Coliseum. So that's where I would park. And I came out one day, and my T-tops had been stolen. They broke the opera window in the back of the car, reached up, unlatched them, and took my T-tops. And I'm standing there, and all my mail is on the front seat. They went through my mail, took my checks. I'm standing in a total mess. And I hear this person running down the sidewalk. And I turn and I look, and it's Larry Smith, the USC coach. And I'm just really in no mood for any of this. But I look at Larry, and he looks at me, and looks at the car, and shakes his head. And as Larry starts to jog past me, there's a homeless guy, I know, shocker, in LA, sitting on the sidewalk in his own filth, completely unaware of his surroundings. But as Coach Smith runs by him, he goes like this. He looks, and he yells down the sidewalk, "Hey, Coach, you can run, but you can't hide." And about 9 months later, after the Freedom Bowl, Larry got his visa, and he was out.
Once you lose the homeless.
Yeah, I think at that point, Larry should have put a for sale sign in the front yard. All right, one more thing before we get out of here, Pete. This is our walk-off. The LA City Council designated the iconic Brady Bunch house as a historic and cultural monument because in LA, that is culture. Brady Bunch ran for 5 seasons, ending in 1974. In 2018, HGTV bought the house for $3.5 million. They spent nearly $2 million renovating it. And they wanted it to look exactly on the inside because it didn't, as the set, never matched. So HGTV gutted the house, built it exactly like that, and then sold it again. And the current owners, it's a 5,000 square foot house. They give public tours, and they charge $275 a person. Now, if I'm going to pay $275 to walk through the Brady Bunch house, Marcia better be in the shower. And I can say that because she was 18. She was 18, Pete, at the end of the show. So that's the Marcia that needs to be in the shower for $275. Can you believe they're getting $275 to walk through a fake? There she is, Maureen McCormick. She still looks great today, by the way.
She's not 18
but yeah, when
there,
she finished
by
that
the way.
show, not there, but when she started, I think she was 14 when it started, but she was 18, almost 19 when the show ended. Yeah, just to cover my tracks there. So I don't know, Pete, were you a Brady Bunch fan? Would you pay $275 to take the same stairs as Mike Lookinlind?
I might poke around Alice's bedroom a little.
Oh, what?
Alice.
What does that mean? Wow, I didn't peg you as an Alice guy. They tried to make the Brady Bunch come off as middle class, but they had field turf in the backyard, so Mike had a side hustle going somewhere.
It's to me, it conjures up a time. It's one of the last periods of we go out to the land of milk and honey, and that's the place to make our steak, right? And that's what I think to some people that's what the Brady Bunch represented.
It was a great show. We all grew up on it. It was wholesome. To me, it was kind of like modern day Ozzie and Harriet, where the parents were always calm and did the right thing, and everybody loved each other, and to a blended family ahead of its time.
Come to find out, Florence Henderson slept with everyone, and of course, Robert Reed didn't sleep with anyone. Well, he did, but
more his own type.
His own team. Hey, the internet says all the stuff. Hey, the internet says all the stuff on Floho was not true. She was married with 4 kids, and she let it go because it was good for ratings, and it made her look dangerous and cool and all that.
And a touch hotter than Alice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Again with Alice.
It was competition.
It was a great show. All right, Peter, that's it. We're going to let you go. Any parting words for us?
Go USA again.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. And you mean the enhanced games?
World Baseball Classic. We have the best pitching staff. Paul Skeens has rallied a lot of people to participate. Great bullpen as well. America wins this time.
Well, since this is the internet, we're never out of time. But once again, we are out of topics, and we know that you're out of patience already. So unfortunately, we're not going to have time again for our super segment on the WNBA. When they go on strike, we'll make sure to ignore them completely. But right now, we do it week to week. So for Weichner, for Catlin, for Dick Hammer, and for 18-year-old Marsha Brady, I'm Jim Watson. After further review, the call on the field is we will be back next week. Goodbye, Peter. Goodbye, Tommy.
Goodbye, James. Tom.
Good night now.
Remember the new name after further review. Hey, somebody do some old guys a favor. Just click on subscribe. I get one of those and I get all excited about it. Thanks. We'll see you next week.